Usually we find that there are things we have been taught or that we are doing that are working against us. My system will reveal to you the things that are driving you that you might not even realize you have going on. To work with your natural strengths versus working against yourself.
Today's episode of The Coaching Show is all about unlocking what's possible. I sat down with Morgan, who's in a moment of transition in her career after a number of years making a global impact with women's empowerment work. What started as uncertainty quickly turned into excitement as we explored all the ways she can pivot and leverage the skills she's learned and used in the past towards her what's next and all the different career opportunities that are out there. So if you've ever wondered how your existing skills can unlock and open unexpected doors, this conversation's for you. It's going to get you thinking bigger. Let's dive in. Hey, Morgan. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
Welcome to The Coaching Show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. How'd you hear about the show?
About the show? Yeah, my sister actually is a fan, so she mentioned it to me.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm really excited to have you here. And thank you. I know I asked you a few questions before so you sent me, you're really good about doing your homework.
Yeah, which should come across well in my answers as well. So
Excellent. Great. So tell me a little about yourself and what's happening with you right now and your career life.
Sure, yeah. No, I'm living in a moment in history, that's for sure. So I'm a foreign affairs focused person. I've worked in NGOs and nonprofits for my entire career. Working abroad, I've lived in Panama, Peru, I'm in Spain now. I've been working what was effectively my dream job for about 5 years, from 2020 until February of this year, when unfortunately, due to the changing political circumstances in the US, my organization lost a lot of its funding and is no longer able to keep us all. So I'm now in a moment of transition, looking for what's next for me.
Okay, got it. Transition. Okay. What is it? It's I always say like the obstacle is the way. So when we go through transition, as hard as it is, there's usually there's always something good that comes from it. So, okay. So
Yeah.
tell me, with what you were doing, um, tell me a little bit about what you were doing and what you loved about what you were doing.
Sure. So I was a project manager at a NGO based in Washington, D.C., and I specifically worked on women's economic empowerment and youth leadership projects in Latin America,
Okay.
which means I did everything from design the programs, run the programs with my partners in the field, visit the field, do monitoring, do interviews, write reports, just your usual project management tasks, but very focused on supporting these communities. That meant a lot to me.
Okay. And then, so if you were to think about, because I know you said that what a couple of the things that you value are impact and efficiency. So it's probably struggling a little bit right now, like you're not feeling very efficient.
Yes, exactly.
So when we think about the doing project management in supporting these women, what was it about what you were doing that you loved doing? What were you like? Take me through like a little bit of the journey of like someone that you were helping in your role.
Sure. So one of the favorite projects that I was working on was we have a center in rural Guatemala where we provide classes and seed capital funding for women who live in this very, very rural part of Guatemala, for them to start and scale their businesses. And so I did everything from work with the local staff to help design the curriculum, the recruitment, get the cohorts, together, get branded materials, and then I would go about quarterly to Guatemala to meet the women, hear their stories, see how the center impacted them, which just made me feel every day waking up so far away that the work I was doing was really making a difference.
So you were helping to build out the curriculum to sort of give them structure around creating their own businesses.
Yep, so at the center we had, yeah, a curriculum at different levels where the women would take the courses and like learn how to run a business.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So really seeing that impact, right? People who, and I'm guessing many of these women who never thought that they could have their own business.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. And so the thing about it, to me, it's like I think of it as like you're like giving them structure and you're helping them to define a process to get to an outcome,
Mhm.
positive outcome. And by the way, helping them perhaps with their financial freedom, how are they supporting their families for women? Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So tell me about right now, like what do you think you want to do next?
So that is the big question, isn't it? So I've really tried to break it down sort of to the fundamentals of what I really liked about the job. And like I said in my answers before today, I just really like being connected to the impact. So in whatever I'm doing next, I really want to be continuing to focus on making positive change in the world, in the communities at a micro level, with the people that I work. Whether that's women's economic empowerment, youth leadership, like it could be anything across the spectrum. But for me, I'd say that's the most important thing is for me to have a career that's focused on that kind of impact.
Got it. And then, but also, so do you like working in structured environments or do you like creating the structure in an unstructured environment?
So I'd say I work best in a structured environment, but I also like the challenge of showing up somewhere that doesn't have structure and building it out. That's something I've done several times throughout my career so far. And like building that structure and having that is like a goal for me.
Mhm.
To like make things more efficient. Again, going back to my core values.
Don't you love how that works?
Yeah, it's all coming together already.
Yeah. So when you think about efficiency, and that is something and that's why I asked you about your core values. And tell me, I know you sent me because I asked you a couple questions like what do you value ahead of today? How do you tell me again what like how do you define impact? Like your definition.
Yeah, so my definition was along the lines of working to make a positive impact in the community in which I'm working, sort of at a general level.
Got it. And impact would be, I'm going to push you a little bit here. Impact would be what?
Just being able to see,
Yeah, like how do you know? Because I agree with you. I
yeah.
understand do what you do, but what would what would impact specifically look, feel like? How would you know how do you know you're making an impact?
And yeah, I mean, I think pushing on that is a good question. For me, like how I felt most connected to it and how I could visibly see it was meeting and interviewing and talking to the people who were involved in like the work that I was working on from afar. So like being able to talk to the people who are directly benefiting or directly having their lives change or directly changing their businesses and being able to see that transformation to me. That's what gets me out of bed.
Got it. So the impact is really, it's really in you being able to have the conversations with people and seeing it, right? Like, so you want to have you want to be connected to that customer. You want to be front stage. You don't want to be like, you're good at like the backstage stuff, but you want to also have the opportunity to be like in conversations with the people you're directly impacting.
Yes, I think that would be important. Like, I feel like I would be much less fulfilled if I was just in a project management role with no contact whatsoever with the field. Like, that would be very difficult for me.
Yes. Yes. And so you really like working with people, like you big being with
Hmm.
people. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So that's how you would define impact. And I did ask you, let's break down efficiency. So now that you've said, now that you've, and just to reiterate the word impact. So now when you're talking with people, you're talking, in networking opportunities, when you're talking in interviews, we want you to be able to say, one of the number one thing I value is impact. And what I mean by that is to be able to really see and have interaction with the people that I'm helping. That's really important to me. And so see how using that, because impact just as a word has no meaning until you give it meaning.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So like that word is so important. And we want you to weave that into your conversations with anybody that you're doing, like anybody you're talking to. And in addition, because lots of people want to make impact, the impact you want to make, how it's different from you. Your definition of impact is different than mine. That's a power word. We want you to continue to work in that. And so with efficiency, how do you think about efficiency? What does efficiency look like? And it could be, like I said, taking chaos and putting it into order.
That
Uh,
my base level is that I do not thrive in chaos. I do not thrive when like I don't know what's going on, when there's not clear instruction. So I am always striving to either be in or create an environment that has structure, organization, that works quickly and without tension. That is very important to me to be able to, yeah, either have that or build that, to have the space to build it.
Got it. So I can imagine when you're in a situation where you have a lot of people who have a lot of different ideas, that you would be the person who could bring all those people together and get an agreement on an output.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be the person that's like, okay, like you're all saying that, but what step are we going to take? When are we going to take it? And like, who's responsible for what? Project
Yes,
manager.
it's project management, but it's also there's different types of project managers. Right. And so the fact that and I've worked with lots of different project managers. So the fact that you thrive in that, you want that, you want to interact with people.
Yeah.
Some project managers are they're like, okay, like I'm gonna just gonna do the process and I'm gonna forget about the people. So you have a combination. Okay, great. That's awesome. Okay. So have you since the transition or in the transition, have you thought about at all have there been any roles you've interviewed for? Are there things that you like now, how would you want to take those skills and shift them into a different type of role, or have you given any thought on that?
Yeah, so I've interviewed at a couple of different places. Mostly I'm still interested in applying to things in the NGO space, nonprofit space. The challenge I'm finding is that with everyone across the board being furloughed and laid off from these positions, it's incredibly competitive. And so that's where in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to take these skills that I know that I have and transition to something else that's going to fulfill me while still using the skills I have, even if it's not a nonprofit or an NGO. And I don't have that answer yet.
Right, exactly. So we want to about part of like the competitive advantage, what like thinking about what are companies, what are roles that where they're trying to um they're maybe similar type of what they're trying to do, but maybe not in that specific nonprofit space.
Right.
For example, I'm thinking about I've thought about there's a lot um, of organizations. Like I've worked with a number of financial institutions who their goal really is to create wealth for women. So finding like programs that they're where they want to help women become entrepreneurs. And so whether that is if it because though if the piece is how do you help women to live a better life, and give them the education and curriculum for that. And that could be one segment we could look at. The other part is that if it isn't necessarily women, is it just is it people that are like from other countries who you want to give them the same, regardless of male, female? Is there one that you lean towards?
I definitely have loved my work with women. Another thing I haven't mentioned is I'm fluent in Spanish, so I also have really loved like working in Latin America to be able to sort of combine that skill set. But I wouldn't say that I'm 100,000% married to only working with women in Latin America. I would like to think I'm able to expand my horizons and work with other historically marginalized groups anywhere.
Right, right. Because that's where my brain goes to, just initially knowing lots of organizations who are trying to um, give, educate the population. And I'm just speaking at like in the U.S., programs that are trying to educate the population on how to, be smart about wealth and how to create a life, and a legacy for their families, build businesses. So there's a number of organizations out there that do that. Did you know that? Had you thought about that before?
I have, and this is sort of getting to like my own head trash to put it in the win room terminology, is that I feel as though I've worked so thematically and at a management level that I doubt myself and that like I have the skills that it takes to like actually talk about finance or actually like talk about entrepreneurship. Like I feel like because I have never been an entrepreneur or I have never been like a finance bro working at a bank, that like I'm lacking something that is holding me back from looking deeply at those types of positions.
So do you think that, okay, got it. How do you think someone who is, if you're a company and you're trying to, um, part of your growth of your company is to gain more customers, right? Or people that are building their businesses and investing in you, you're investing in them. And if they are females, right? A certain population of females, who do you think they're going to listen to more? Someone who comes in with a fancy banking background and knows all the stuff, or someone who has helped X number of women, people, to become entrepreneurs?
I would like to think the second one.
Well, let's just think about it, right? So when we talk about you trying to go back into the space that you were in, you're going to be with everybody else that's trying to get back into that. Now, with things changing and pivoting, like this is where I want to like think about, and we're not going to necessarily solve for it today, but like how to get you on a path towards looking at these different ways that companies, organizations are trying to grow that segment of their business. And then you're backed by a company that really wants to give loans. Like I'm just thinking, I was at the TED conference last year and there was a woman, and I want to like now after this, what I'm going to do, I want to figure out how I can connect you to her. Her whole business is about how to fund women to start their businesses, and like an intentional, like she did this whole thing where like it was a very small amount, but she was able to show like where she could grow businesses, women run businesses, with just a little bit of investment for each of them and support. And she's got a whole organization that's dedicated to that.
Yeah, and like that sounds amazing. That sounds right up my alley entirely.
Yeah, right. And so you have that background where you know how you understand, you're talking about your head trash. You're like, oh, would I fit in that? But ultimately, you understand because you've been in it with so many, people are people, you know, like the challenges that female entrepreneurs did you say it was Guatemala?
And yeah, in Latin
Yeah,
America, but
in Latin
Guatemala
America,
too.
yeah. So like even though like maybe specifically their challenges are a little bit different, I mean, their challenges are different, but like as humans, we all have the sort of things that hold us back. And um, being you are perfectly positioned to understand where some of those gaps are. How do you actually educate them? Because one thing to write a great curriculum, but like, how do you meet people where they are? And so that's where I think you have a unique lens on this, where you not only can put process in, you can in structure, but you know how to connect with people. And that's the piece that you could have the best laid plan, but if you don't know how to stop and pause and figure out how do I get them unstuck, it doesn't matter. You're not, so you're able, like, your efficiency value is what's going to help you move people faster. And because your ability to connect with people is going to get more people to move faster and get on board, to make themselves money, to help and which then grows whatever organization that's funding them.
Mhm.
So I like that. I like that angle for you. And I think we could target, like I said, definitely I want to connect you with that woman. It's someone in her organization. I also know a number of other women who run organizations which are similar, right? Like they're trying to support women in other countries. Ironically, I was part of this organization a while ago, this woman, Ingrid, and she runs a company called Empowering a Billion Women, and she works all around the globe to help fund women businesses. So she might be somebody. I'm going to write this down.
Take
uh,
notes.
I'm glad we're recording. Uh, I need your efficiency, Morgan.
All right,
Your
exactly.
order. I need your order. So Ingrid, and then this other woman from the TED Talk. Um, okay, so tell me, like, we just sort of like explored this new way, or maybe like it's still doing the same thing, but it's like putting you into a place where your expertise is not common, versus where you were talking before of like this pool of people who you love because that you've all done similar types of work, but then you're competing against all these people.
Yeah, exactly.
So we want you to have a competitive advantage and put you in a place where you have a skill set that nobody else does. And that's like, does that make
But honestly, that's like really enlightening because I truly have only like saw myself amongst my peers, and it like escapes me that I may have a skill set that is applicable but unique in another room, to put it that way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I mean, I've done this with so many people with like where they're trying to either intentionally get a new next step in their career. Because I mean, here's the deal is like, regardless if we're furloughed, whatever happens, there's all kinds of reasons why, people, you could like lose your job. And it could be as simple as like you have a new person comes in and they don't like you. Right? I mean, and it could be like the most simple things. And so it's sort of, this is where having to like sort of you see what my goal here is to like pull out of you so you can kind of see what are the things that you uniquely have that everybody else doesn't have. And um, so number one, like we said, is organizations that are trying to grow, you know, that are funded, that are trying to grow and build more entrepreneurial women across the globe, right? Or organizations are trying to do that in a specific country. Um, that's also an angle. The other thing I was thinking about, because you had mentioned how like you are super creative, you've done like a lot of the marketing, you have those marketing skills too. So that's another advantage you have. just knowing from working with lots of people, most people who are like in a project management, like they're really good at project management, they aren't necessarily super creative.
Interesting.
So your creative, like out like that that skill set is, I also think, unique because it allows you to obviously work well in a small and agile organization because you can do multiple things. Like you can build the curriculum, you can, put the process in place, you can connect with the customer. You can then put the marketing and sales material together to be able to promote it.
Mm.
So another thing that made me think, what I was like thinking before we met today is there a way, my brain went to like um doing a people who are doing um what do you call it? Like filming people who are building their businesses, or like entrepreneurs in different countries, or sort of seeing how people are making money in different ways and growing. I don't know, I was like thinking of is there, a company that like that's what their mission is to expose and let the world know about all these women, I'm just saying hypothetically, all these women-run businesses that like how could you buy something from a female-run business in Guatemala?
Mhm.
Giving exposure to like learning about the stories and then how those stories are getting shared. That's a little bit of a different, like that could be almost like an agency.
Yeah, which is something that with my previous job I was doing a lot whenever I would go to Guatemala, Costa Rica, or El Salvador, whatever it was. I would always like bring my camera, do interviews, and then edit and produce videos afterwards to use for public facing materials. Like I love that. Like I would love to work on something like that as part of my actual job. Because again, that was something I was just doing creatively, sort of on the side. Um,
So you were doing that. So I just said that. So this is interesting because I didn't know that. And so, but that's also where my brain goes to, like that's the word I was looking for. Documentary.
very
Like you're documenting yes, these experiences, what people are doing. And it's still, to me, it's about, it still all kind of ties back to your core values of impact and efficiency. So in that view, it's like efficiency is how do you get the word out faster to help people be more effective and efficient in being able to support these women-run businesses. And we're just using women-run as an example.
right.
Um, Now I don't know, like I was thinking about some people that I know are like in the film industry and then are connected to people that are doing like those types of documentaries. So that could also be something to look into.
Yeah, and that's not something I had ever considered as like a full-time option, but this is the time to explore.
Okay, so you hadn't thought of that.
No, that had
Yeah.
not been on my radar.
Yeah. I mean, and it could be again something that could be like a combination type of role. And where funding is going. Like so again, it could be some person who is willing to invest right now, some private person, right? Someone with their private money. Um, and that's something they are so passionate about how do we get the word out to support more women entrepreneurs, and they want to put together a program, like, or there's a grant around it. Um, yeah. So I have another person I'm going to connect you to because she does a lot of this work. She actually does it with the school systems and with um, police.
Oh, interesting.
well, in the effort to how do we create better environments where we are supporting the growth and the development of these communities. So when we think of like communities, you could think of like women entrepreneurs in Guatemala, a community. Communities are teachers, and how are they need to be supported, and how are they gaining skills to get to the next level. Community of our, public service, police, like different groups that are looking for new skills, upskilling. um I mean, I don't know, it feels like a little bit of a stretch, but it's also when you think of groups of people, empowering groups of people, it's a little bit of a different take. But my point is that this person I want to connect you to, um I think she could give you some really good ideas. And actually, okay, see, this is what happens as I'm talking. I think and I talk. So I'm going
The
to connect.
snowballs.
I know, to Sarah. Well, so she actually does all this work with women in Africa. So she does, and I know her, she's here locally. Her and this woman that I actually work with currently, and she has a whole business where she has women in Africa that she gets them and hires them to be like assistants for like a what do you call it? Um, virtual assistants for people. So basically, similarly, finding women and finding ways to help them build wealth and find skills, and they're all in like a small African country.
That's really interesting for sure.
Okay. All right. So we now have four different angles here. Ingrid, the woman from the TED Talk, Sarah, and this woman that I know. All right. So those are four that I can intros that I can make for you. Okay. Is your head spinning?
No, I mean, this is super helpful because again, like I've been so stuck in like, how do I just recreate the wheel of what I was doing before? And this is so helpful to hear that there are other things that I'm capable of doing.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. And I think, again, what happens is this is normal. So if you were you were a person in finance, or you were a person in, I don't know, whatever industry, like whatever you were doing, it doesn't matter. Um, you will have the same challenge because you like you see the lens of what you are working in, and you don't really see the other needs of what other people are looking for. And that's where, for me, I've worked with so many different people in different sizes of companies, and sort of, um, I love putting people who have a skill set into a new environment that where, again, I go from being, I always say, not this isn't you, but I always say this, but like going from where you're like tolerated to a place where you're celebrated. And so
Yeah.
the thing about that is, how do you find a place where you're going to have a skill set that they really, really need, um, that um, that you have, but most other people don't. Okay, I have a question for you, and I know I move fast. So, um, tell me, who is someone you admire, like personally, professionally? Is there anyone that like stands out to you? Who's somebody you admire?
I feel, oh my goodness, there's so many. I feel like I really look up to like the Melinda French Gates of the world who are like pioneering women's causes at a global level and like using their position and their privilege to focus on those issues. Like to me, that's all I could want to do. And so it's like inspiring me to see a woman who like has actually done that.
Got it. And so, perfect. And it's the reason why is like, what does she do specifically that you admire?
I mean, so she's taking this incredible wealth that, you know, she and her ex-husband had built to find causes that she specifically cared about. So she's closing like the digital divide for women across the world, increasing health access to healthcare for women across the world, and like really found these areas that she thought could be improved and like put her resources there to do it.
Got it. Okay. So I'm going to help you see what you just said. So when you said that it's how do you said something about like how she's positively impacting people across the world and she's seeing where it can be done more efficiently. I think you said the word,
Um,
right?
I think so.
So you did. So why I ask this question is because it's always it never fails. The reason why you admire her is because you have a shared value system. That's why it stands out to you. That's why the things that she's doing, and you like you probably had never thought of it before, but like that what you described of how you see what she does, those you can pretty much guarantee that if you did a values exercise with her, that those would probably come up. Okay. And so why I ask this is because it's giving you an anchor of someone who you can look to. And when you're in a moment, which, in transition and in just in life in general, we always are in these moments where we don't know what to do. So when you don't know what to do, you think to yourself, what would Melinda Gates do? Right?
We
What
get
do you
my bracelet. WW.
WW? Yes. Um,
MG.
MG do? What would she do? And so with that, it gives you like it gives you a path that you can be confident is aligned to your value system. So it's like giving you guardrails, giving you structure, making you more efficient in your thinking.
Speaking my language.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I'm speaking your language, right? That's for another call, right? But this is why you do what you do, and which now, and when you explain that, if you explain that to somebody too, or if somehow you were to, put that into a conversation, maybe you're in an interview and you say, they say, well, tell me about you. And you can now say, well, the thing I value the most are efficiency, and making an impact. And someone who I really admire is Melinda Gates, and what I admire about her is blah blah blah. So see how it's giving you language, your leadership language that you can use and practice. Again, these guardrails to be efficient and effective in how you're communicating who you are. So that's one. And then two, I did ask you before when you gave me your two values, I asked you to reach out. You're so good. You did your homework. You're very
Did it
efficient.
fast too. So efficient.
Oh, I know. See, you're like embodying it. This is you. This is Morgan. So I asked you to reach out to a few people and ask them, say, what that you value their opinion. What are the words that you'd use to describe working with me? And they said dependable, detail-oriented, confident, organized, motivational, thoughtful, efficient, insightful, action-oriented. So I just like read those off because that's what you put in your when you submitted. You put that in your form. And now that everybody has, we've talked about you, everything about you, we've sort of unveiled everything about what makes you uniquely you. Were you surprised by any of those words?
I feel like I was pleasantly surprised by motivational. I feel like that's not something I've like intentionally tried to do. But I mean, yeah, detail oriented, action oriented, efficient, I think was even on the list. Those all checked out pretty quickly.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's everything you've basically said. So the motivational, I mean, you don't have to say who it was specifically who told you, but like, what was the relationship of the person that told you that?
She was my direct report at my previous job.
Oh, okay. So
I know.
you she was motivated by you. She,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Um, one thing I would maybe offer for you to go back and say to that person, I never thought, um, I never thought of myself that way. I appreciate your feedback. Was there anything specific that I did that motivated you? Is there any, I'd love to know and to
Yeah,
hear.
I do want to know, so I should go back and ask.
Right. You want to know because what we're doing is we're getting and you love efficiency. So what I'm pulling out of you is your self data. This is all data. So all this data about you and who you are, what you stand for, why you do what you do. This is, again, it's efficiency, but it's also creating a predictability. So anytime you're meeting someone now, like you have the words to be able to explain to them what you're gonna do, why you're gonna do it, how you're going to behave when you're, you know, in any sort of role.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the everything you gave to me, which after this, I will send back to you in a way that you can practice it and use it in your conversations for your interviews about, weaving in everything that we talked about where your strengths are, all this data. Um, so, okay, I'm going to pause. How does your head trash feel right now?
I feel like I'm thinking about options that I just hadn't considered before. I feel like I've been in such a rut of like grieving what I've lost and just trying to replace it with the exact same thing. That I'd like closed myself off to really looking at the breadth of what might be available to me. So this is helpful to like hear from someone else who doesn't work in this industry tell me that like there are other things you can do, Morgan. Like you don't have to silo yourself off like that and just
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because everything that's your skill set, like all the things that are your skill sets are things that people need in different domains. And I guess that's where my point is like you have such a range of skills that obviously make you well suited for a smaller, more agile, like a startup type of or environment, and or like when I was talking about some of these like financial companies. I mean, there's financial companies out there that are just focused on helping to build entrepreneurial wealth, right? Getting people started. And I know a lot of this just because being an entrepreneur, like, of like who's there out there trying to help you. So that to me is a natural fit for even if it's a bigger company, if they're trying to build out a new segment in that space, it's sort of like how you could, and I don't think I actually asked you this. Do you prefer to be in a smaller, mid-size, larger company? Like, do you have a preference?
so I've only ever really worked at bigger organizations like 200 plus, but as you were describing the environment of working in like a smaller, more agile company, I was like, wow, that sounds kind of fun to like have like multiple responsibilities and work on many things at once versus being in previous positions, like I've had my responsibility and anything I did outside of that was like my initiative, not because anyone was like encouraging me to or telling me to.
Got it. So it's so interesting from a perspective. So if I think of like 200 person company, I think of that as small.
Okay, well, in the NGO world, that's huge.
Right. Okay. So, but if we think about, and actually, maybe let me ask it this way. There's three kinds of like companies and types of roles. I always say I try to like break it down simple. There's like roles where there's smaller companies, startup-y, or like it's a smaller part of a growth area within a bigger company. It's figuring it out. So you're going in and you're figuring it out. Like there's really no rules, there's no structure. And Morgan, we just want you to come and figure this thing out. How do we get connected to more women who want to be entrepreneurs all over the globe? Just role play with me. So we just want you to come and figure it out. We don't know. We don't have a playbook. And then there's other roles that are more, we want you to fix it. So there's figure it out, there's fix it, which means we already have gone on this path. We're going to use this example as possible. We have a commitment that we want to bring in, I don't know, 200 entrepreneurs. We want to create 200 entrepreneurs. We had zero today, or no, that wouldn't make sense. That we have like 50 today, but we want to grow it to 200, and we're not growing fast enough. So we want you to come in and fix it. We want to come in and look at what we're doing. We want you to like then level it up. Like we have a thing, like it's working, but it's not going as fast. So that's like that taps into your efficiency, right? How do you make it more efficient and scale? So figure it out, the fix it role. And then the third is more of what I call it's like a bigger company where it's like follow the process. We have a process. This we know it works. We just want you to come in and execute on the process. Which one sounds like what you like?
I feel like I would like the biggest one where like the process was already created, but I think I would get bored. I think that I wouldn't be challenged in that environment. So I feel like the first two are more of interest, where it's like maybe the second one where it was like something's already built, but we want to make it better. I feel like that would be my like sweet spot with it.
Okay, fix it. You like to go and fix it. So, okay, perfect. And that to me, that ties both into impact and efficiency. How do you create a more efficient way to do it? Like, how are we trying to drive this impact that we're this goal we're trying to hit? So I'm not surprised that you picked that, but like, see how I just framed it in three simple ways, buckets, so that you can be more clear, because those are very distinct. If you're somebody who's a figure it out and you go into a follow the process place, you will like, I would, I would die. Like,
Yeah.
like if I couldn't have like big ideas and it would just get shut down. And the reality is that all companies go through these stages as they grow. And so oftentimes, your situation was different, but I always say to people when, they just feel like they don't fit in their organization anymore, if they've been there for so long, it's usually because their skill set is better suited in a different bucket and the company has shifted. And so it's just an understanding what's your sweet spot, where are the things that, like, where is the area where you're going to thrive? And I've seen that often with people who feel like stunted in their growth. Um, and then they go somewhere else and it's just like they can just go and then do the thing. And it's all just your own personality. Everybody's wired differently.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of it that way at all. So
Yeah, well, it's like how do you break it down and normalize it, right? So for if people, like I said, when people come to me and they're like, yeah, this just isn't working for me anymore, typically it's because um like what's being asked of them is misaligned with what they truly care about. And it's not a you problem. Like it's just a situational problem. So it becomes less about you. I mean, even your situation, it's not like it's not like anything you did to be
yeah.
in the situation you're in. It's just it is the situation of, things evolving, and then how do we get you, my job in this is to help you see your competitive advantage in what you bring to the table, and how do I help you tap into some of these other places who could use a you. They're looking for a you, but they don't know anybody. They don't like, um so hopefully that gets your head trashed a little bit. All right. So we have four different avenues, and so four new people that I can connect you with. What was this helpful?
This is so helpful. Of course. I
Excellent.
truly was not thinking about any of these angles, 49 minutes ago.
Look at you, efficiency, 49 minutes in. You're so good. Okay. I need a Morgan in my life. Um, so and I'm going to ask you something, and this is something I want you to do as well when you're in your conversations. Um, I value your feedback. What was most helpful? Like we talked about a lot of things, but what is there anything specifically that was most helpful for you?
I feel like having me look over those values and give them to you in advance, and then you like deeply understanding those. And like that makes me feel like you deeply understand me and where I'm coming from, which makes like your advice much more tangible. Because I feel like you were like have done the deep work to understand how people function based on these values, which is you just feel very seen, you know?
Oh, okay. Good. Excellent. So you feel seen. Um, Perfect. And then how you can really live in this, like own it. Like I want you to own your efficiency, your impact, what you bring, this whole, what people say about working with you, how you pull that into everything that you do.
Yeah,
And own it, right? And so then this way, you know that when you're showing up in the best version of yourself, right?
exactly. Hmm.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so in terms of our next steps, I have some people to connect you with, but I think also you doing some research, and I know you'll be efficient about it, of different maybe companies that are looking to grow. I think the biggest thing is like companies that are trying to um, attract more entrepreneurial customers, as well as companies that are their mission is around um, global impact around getting people into business, being self-sufficient. So some research around that as a to do. And okay, any other questions for me?
No, this is super helpful and yeah, changing the way I think about what I'm qualified for, but also just the advice on how to frame myself in an interview. I feel much more prepared for the what are your strengths question now when it inevitably comes up.
All right, so let's practice. Let's do it. We're going to be efficient about this. Okay, so Morgan, tell me about yourself. What are your
Oh my
strengths?
goodness. I'm from the start. Okay, my strengths. Um, so I am a very impact-driven person and relationship-driven person. I strive to work in an environment where I can um, change the community and see those changes with my own two eyes and feel connected to that impact every day. And I'm also a very action-oriented, efficient person. If you put me in front of a problem, I'm going to be able to solve it and make a process more efficient as efficiently as I can. So two sides of the coin.
Good job. Excellent. Good job. That was a
All
very
on
good,
the fly.
that was good on the fly. And so, one thing I would say is you can say the thing that I value the most, things that I value, use the actual word. What I value the most are impact and efficiency. And what I mean by that is being able to positively impact the communities I work in. I'm all about reliability and delivering. So being efficient and effective in doing what I say I'm going to do. It's very important to me. And then you say, like, what do you value? What's most important to you? So that's the other part. You want to then ask the other person what's most important to you and get them to hear, like, what do they care about? And then you write that down. So whatever they care about. So I now know because I asked you. So I did that, right? I said, I asked you at the end of the conversation, what was most helpful. Um, And so that now that you said feeling seen, I now know that that's like the number one most important thing in any conversation with you. How do I help make sure you feel seen? How do I make sure you're brought into the conversation? So at the end of any interview, any conversation, you can say, I really valued this conversation. Um, was it helpful to get to know me or get to know me as a candidate for this role? Yes. Great. What was most helpful?
That's a good question.
So I really value your feedback. What was most helpful in what I shared with you? And the person's going to think, and they're going to go, well, I appreciated that you were clear about, how you take charge of things. Okay. So you could have said a million things, but that's what they heard. So you write that down.
Yeah.
I take charge of things. So you know that the taking charge of things is their, like, it's like that's what they love to hear. And so in your follow-up note, you're saying, I appreciate, all about taking charge in things. This is why I take charge in things, because usually people that I'm working with like don't really know which direction to go in. So you're using their language continually so they feel seen. So you can do that at the end of any conversation, what I just did with you. So
It's
now,
very meta level teaching. I like it.
very what?
Meta level teaching. You're teaching me through doing it.
Right, right. Well, it's practice. All this is practice. And like really what I'm trying to do is help you own who you are. How do we bring out the best in you? Your energy, confidence, everything comes from you standing in your strength, standing in your values, in the things that you believe in, you stand for. And so being able to articulate now more of what you stand for is going to help you show up with a different level of energy than others. And what we want is for you, yes, in these interviews, yes, when you're talking with people, but just in your entire career, we want you to show up more memorable. We want people to feel like they remember. They're like, wow, that Morgan. And the reason why, when you ask the question about, what was most helpful that I shared, and whatever they say, the whole just process of asking them what they valued. And if yours was, hey, if they said, hey, it was because I forget what I said. If they said, oh, it was because you're efficient, like in getting things done, right? The next time that person is asked about you, what do you think they're going to say? Well, what's it like? What's Morgan like?
And getting things done.
They're going to be like, she's GSD.
Done.
She's GSD. She gets stuff done. And so the other part of asking that power question at the end, it embeds in their brain because they have to think about it. So then the most natural thing, they're going to tell you the answer, that's what they're going to remember about you. And that's what they're going to tell other people. And that's how you build your brand. That's how you build your confidence. So, all right, Morgan, it was awesome having you on the coaching show. We have some follow-ups, and just so happy you came on and we could get you moving in the right direction.
No, thank you, Jamie. I'm very excited to go expand my search now.
So we made money in this conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much.